the flight school video of sticking, scraping, and J dives.
Six drips and J dives.
Okay, so we are officially live, and all of you should be able to be heard on the stream. So welcome everybody to today's office hours. We are currently a bunch of us got together in a Discord channel, so there's a handful of us in here, and we were just currently talking about Objective Push. A lot of us were talking about some of the panels that we hosted over the weekend. One of them being an objective panel that happened last Sunday, and we were kind of talking about like what we agreed and disagreed with Objective Push from that panel, and I believe that's it. I am going. Oh, is this the clip? Did you just drop D?
Yeah, that's the clip in there.
Nice. Then I am going to actually immediately drop that in the Twitch chat because it's such an amazing. Rob droning. Yeah, it's such like a perfect example of like how.
Even if I have, I don't have the patience to go through it, but if you go to the game before it, he did it all by himself.
Yeah.
They don't know what we were talking about before this, so I guess you can set it up a little bit more.
Yeah, we were just kind of talking about like in the snail space, like how critical a drone can be to that snail space and like making sure that it moves. Because a lot of times I think people get frustrated with their teams not clearing snail, and then so they're just like, okay, well, I'm going to go do other stuff that has like a very high impact, like running a barrier, grabbing speed for myself or stuff, which were all smart responses if the snail space is contested. But the better option is oftentimes is having a team that coordinates with you and is quickly there to work with you to retain the snail. And one of the things that clip that I'm about to drop really, really shows is that a single drone can make so much impact in that space, specifically by running columns with its own warriors or queen and getting bumps that like make a big impact on it. So that's it. I'm done. Everyone go home.
Yeah, we were explaining to. I was explaining to Woody, Dre, and everyone here how we were explaining to people earlier that did not play arcade kind of like what scrapes and sticking are just period in the game, and then like what it looks like when a drone can do them with perfection at really like opportune times. Like Rob being the drone in that video can just do it pretty much like any point, and it puts him in a place where he doesn't necessarily need to wait for like a snail to be cleared, right? Like he can go into an area that has a warrior and a drone on a snail or like near that specific objective, and he's able to kind of like cause some problems for them while he's waiting for someone to clear. Which a lot of drones would be like, well, I just need to keep my life because if I have to respawn and I have to go across the map and do it, it's more time. Like, I'd rather just wait until someone can come with me. And sometimes you can do it all by yourself.
Oh, he's blue checkers in this one?
He's, I think, gold checks.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't really see it.
Yeah. You have to click on you have to click on like the actual link, not the embedded, and it'll bring you specifically there.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, I just saw his first stick. That was nice.
He even sacrificed his life at a really good time, knowing that the two warriors would go in for the pinch on the warrior when he dropped for him.
Yep.
That was very
there it is. That was another one. That was two. Yeah, he's supported there all the way through. But I mean, I guess this is part of like the design too, right? There's the discussion. There's so much of the discussion from the drone panel. I think for me felt like some people might not feel this way. That like it was I don't know the split strat discussion that really kind of like raised a lot of eyebrows for me because for me, I mean, if you're doing like a snail strategy, it should purely just be snail. Then I think I'm not crazy about split strat. I think the only time you should ever do a split strat is if you're very strat absolutely tanks in the opening third, and then that you then become a hard berry team.
Yeah.
Hard snail team.
One thing that I've thought about is how much, if you're a snail team that has significant snail progress, I think there is a strong opportunity for you to trade in snail progress for berries for recovery time. It's something I thought about a lot. Dre and Dan from Knee Howdy, that match that we lose to Sting Theory, the Dusk map, where we have snail like past the speed gate and we get wiped and they have 3 speed warriors up and I die twice in recovery. I think we should have flooded the shit out of berries. Because I think like they can't win. There's no like they have 3, so like if everyone just starts flooding berries, right? Like they have 3 warriors up, like they can't beat us on that.
Wait,
yeah.
What game are you talking about?
So it's the Dusk map we lose to Sting Theory in winners finals of BB4.
Right, okay.
So the game state was the point at which I think we should have started flooding berries was we had snail past the speed gate towards our net. I had 2 lives, Cody had 2 lives, they had 3 speed warriors, and we got wiped. And then what happens over the next couple of minutes is that I slowly try to recover, and they get a couple of good strikes on me. I ended up getting Helen up, but like we just weren't able to like outlast. And like Snail got pulled back like close to middle in that time, but not far. But like I think if we had flooded berries, we could have gotten like 4 in really quickly. And like started like bullying them through. They would have had to devote a lot, especially because it's Dust Map, they would have had to devote a lot of resources to ledging really quickly and just freed up a lot of pressure on me on the map. And it's basically us just saying like, well, we can't move Snail anyways. Force them to pull it back, which divides the resources even more. Or even, hell, do like a rush where you rush 3 berries and have 1 person sacking to the Snail Rider. And so their objective's like not even moving unless they plant a warrior there. And then it's like, unless they're ledging adequately with 2 military pieces and putting someone on the snail, then I'm recovering against a queen and 1 warrior. Or no, a queen and no warriors is the only way that makes sense, that they can stop, like, move their objective readily and stop our objective significantly.
Right. I think it's definitely like an option, and that's something that I've considered before too. I don't think it's viable on day as much. Night, no, not as much. But I think for Dust, it's the best map to try that on, because like you're basically just like splitting it up so that you can actually get some recovery.
Yeah.
Some space for recovery.
Yeah. And what's interesting
is... Night, I think on Night, if you get wiped, you can recover. I think you could do that same thing on Night. I think like if you're in that same position on Night, that just flooding berries is a good option too.
I think if you have significant snail progress and they have no berries in, you can do it on any map. Because like they have to pull your snail back, and then you're forcing berries. So I think it's strong on all maps. This specific microcosm, because people talk a lot about like just we're wiped, let's just recover by running like a 2-2. And I don't think that that's really strong, and I think it's really bad on day. And I agree with you 100% on that dynamic, Dre. Because people do that where it's like, Snail's neutral, and we got wiped, let's run a 2-2 until we recover. And then what you see is them never really recover, and Snail snowball out of control. But when you have Snail like almost in your net, you're just trading that massive resource in a different direction.
Right, because there's not like there's going to be a substantial the time for you to finish up maybe with the last 5 to 10% of snail, like that time period where you still have to recover when you're in a full wipe.
Yeah,
that snail is going to be probably pushed back to one of like your near gate, and then you'd have to basically restart the fortress for the push.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I see what you're saying, and it's a great utilization of, I guess, like you're basically just making the other team's snail progress twice as long when you put it to that direction, and now we have like a shit ton of time to run berries.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I think about it as like, well, if my snail is almost in, then like you have to run the snail for like 50 to 60 seconds to win, like sheer unopposed seconds to win on Snail, which is 50 to 60 seconds it's 40 to 50 seconds that I have to recover. And that's without sacks, you know? And of course, if they do like a speed Snail response, but Sting Theory wasn't, which I was very keen on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember thinking about it briefly during the game, and I was like, no, we didn't discuss that game state. I'm not making it audible.
Right, yeah. We barely discussed it, but I think what was the plan? It was like basically like Dan and Helen, we would like initially kind of spread out towards gates, kind of like they would get the priority over the gates. They would hit speed if it was available. Then me and Nick would be the primary sack, and if he would just happen to like chance by a gate that you're flying around, he would get in. Yeah. But I was always just looking to get. I was looking to. I'm trying to remember. Trying to get in vanilla regardless, but also if Dan or Helen was there, I'd help set up like drone bumps or picks for them to get in around me.
Yeah, I mean, I think we rather confidently looked at the strategy and went, "Oh well, like we can recover. Like I can outpath teams,
right? Yeah,
and like all of our drones are extremely competent at the drone skill to like get to gates." I was like, "We will get someone up," and that paid dividends on other games all the time. Like, how many times did we get wiped in grand finals and recovered? Because we were just like, oh, we'll just recover. You know, that's our plan. It's just do it.
Right. Yeah.
But, like, when we had that massive Snail resources, I was like, oh, this is different. But also a little bit, and I've thought about this more and more, is, like, I'm always, like, I'm a little scared to, like, get into these, like, higher tier berry strats and stuff that I think are pretty viable. Because I'm almost like, I don't want to open Pandora's jar, you know, like I don't want to deal with it. I'm like, even if it's better.
Pandora's jar.
Pandora's jar.
Yeah, that's the right.
I don't know. I think they're viable, but I think sometimes it's really really difficult with the even matchup though, right? Do you remember it was KQ31? I was running that really cheesy day strat.
Oh yeah.
And you were still running Snail, I think, and I was like, oh, I don't know though. I mean, like when looking down at the lineup, I think like my second and my third warrior were not on par with yours. It just turns out that Hilton is a beast.
Yeah.
And Coppola was maybe equal.
Yeah. What's up, Andrew?
Coppola, you're in here, right? Yeah, Coppola's in here. Yeah. Coppola was great in that one too, but like yeah.
They had Dan for 31, right? Dan, you were with me, right?
Yeah, you did.
It was 33 that you missed?
It was it was Woody,
Hilton, Andrew, and Heidi.
Hilton and Heidi.
Still very good.
Ooh, yeah, I'm watching this clip. Sorry, y'all all died at once. That was wild.
Yeah, Cody's a monster, right?
Oh, we're in the it's in this thing.
Yeah, Dan dropped the link.
Yeah, I had the wrong one first, and then I got the right one. They're both Game 3 Dusk.
Oh, I see it now.
And then, I timestamped the moment of the wipe that you're talking about.
Nice, thanks.
Like when it's in place. I could have gone a little earlier, I guess, to show all the kills. Yeah, I really distinctly remember dying to Cody doing that stick, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. I know that he's going to do that. Yeah. But he got me on that one. Yeah. Yeah, because he just committed like so much harder than everybody else normally does right there.
Yep.
Are you in the Twitch chat, Dan, or are you in the Discord?
Yeah, he dropped it in the Twitch chat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was having some internet issues, but it seems okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm having a hiccup over here. I don't know if internet's weird in Chicago or something.
Mm-hmm. I definitely that's something like Madison has been kind of doing too, right? If they're able to get like somewhat decent like snail progress, they get wiped, they opt for berries to split up the other team.
Yeah,
I think that's a great option if you're like mid tier facing somewhat slightly better opposition or slightly better warriors.
Yeah.
or you don't have as much faith in your queen or your queen's ability. Your queen can't like recover like X number of times.
But I feel like I'm looking at it here and I'm like I'll flat out say it, like our warrior complement is stronger than Sting Theory's warrior complement, and like it doesn't happen for us, you know, like we don't get the recovery. And I think if we had that many berries in, we had just started flooding. If these speed, I think it was the nature of the speed warriors, you know, like they deny the recovery. I get one up, but they deny another one. They've denied like 3 recoveries at this point that I'm streaming. Yeah, and it only takes them. I mean, like the presence of having that many speed warriors, you can just kind of like sling. And they play phenomenally. Don't get me wrong; they play very well. They capitalize on like very, very good kills here. But a nature of it is just like an authorized aggression of like, yeah, we have 3 speed warriors. You can do whatever you want.
Right. Oh, nice. Okay.
Cool. So it's like I don't even come close to running out of time. That snail is halfway to the warrior gate. I just lose, you know? And so the issue here is too much pressure on the queen, and so the right response is how do you alleviate pressure on the queen?
Do that one.
Especially speed warriors on dust are just so...
Yeah, I think maybe you're right.
Oh, that was unlucky.
Like, we could have got that, like, the goal of the berry activation, or whatever you want to call it, is basically to get them put the ledge guard up.
Yeah.
Which seems pretty plausible here.
Yeah, because I don't know if you guys have the Twitch stream put up.
I mean,
but I've hit pause at a certain point. I'm gonna play it out a little more, but like we get 2 drones up speed, and I just think, which I think is good. I think it was a smart call. It was part of our plan. But at the point that I'm paused, I think we could have ran 4 berries, and like I don't know if we would have gotten them in, but we could have ran them.
You want a 4 flood?
We could have.
Yeah.
Like maybe like 1 4 flood?
Well, it's like I think the thing is like it shakes like the entire conception that the other team has of how they're playing this game right now, and it makes them like look at all parts of the map to like monitor them differently. And I think it would have been I think an 0-4 flood would have been a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree because
it takes a second to like get at least 1 warrior off of you at this point. Could help for sure.
And it's like
the 1 warrior will get off of you.
Like, all right, even if they don't physically, quote unquote, physically like put somebody somewhere, at the very least, you're giving their brain an extra decision or a thought. Whereas before, they're just like, all I have to do is look at the queen. That's it. So even if berries don't really go anywhere, at the very least, you're going to complicate some people's thinking, whether it's 1 player or 5 players. Just somebody's getting a little more complication.
Yeah.
Like for free, basically.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think the response is either 0-4 flood or it's a 1-3 flood where the 1 is a sacking drone to the snail, which might be stronger of an option.
I don't know. The thing is, I think so on a full wipe. I'm trying to think what they're thinking right now if that were to happen. So I don't think they would immediately stick a ledge guard there. So the possibility for like a 4 flood is like greater because there might be like no ledge guards there, but they do have 2 speeds, so they're going to be like running down our drones regardless.
I think they're all up speed, right?
And then no, only 2 of them are speed.
No, they're all up speed.
But I think
I'm watching.
I think I agree with them only because they weren't running a speed snail. Like if the snail was also speed, I'd be like, oh, maybe we sack a couple times just so it doesn't get like at least to half. But
yeah. Well, I mean, you see. I think Thomas Go Rabs right now is hunting 2 of our blue drones, and they have a rider.
But the snail's riding. Do we sack snail at all? Actually, I have to watch this again.
Yeah, we get sacks on snail.
Yeah, there's a sack. Yeah,
there's a sack right there.
They actually have really great zoning here on like every entrance into the hive, and that's why I say that lockout flood actually feels like pretty dope on night, just because you can concert all of their warriors into like one area because there's really one entrance, whereas here it's like I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
If you guys have the Twitch pulled up, take a look at the clip that like I have it paused at. It's 4:47:07. It's when we have abs up and we're trying to get skulls out of left gate, and we have two drones low. One of them is like just got or is getting speed, and one of them is sacking. And I have a strong feeling that if those two drones were like right now running, like if we had 3 berries in, and those two drones were running berries, is Abs solo contesting this gate against me? I don't know.
That's the other thing too, though. Like that's a question I have in my head because what they're sticking a warrior to each of the side gates, regardless. Anyways, hunting drones too. So who knows if our drones would even like be able to get to that top ledge?
Well, I don't think they have to. They can run the lows. That's fine by me.
Oh, you want the lows? Okay.
I think it's fine. Like run a berry. Get that PTG somewhere. Because like right now I'm definitely looking at them running these lows, and it's basically just like if we had 3 berries in and at this freeze frame they were running 2 more and we were putting in the 4th and 5th berries, or that warrior was leaving to block that, in which case I'm getting my second warrior up. It's a very different looking game.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think if there were if it was 2 vanillas and 1 speed that we were playing against, I think it'd be like way more viable. But against 3 speeds, considering how much like pressure they're applying on like our drones in the general like scheme of lockout,
but
I'm not sure how that would pan out.
Pressure on me for lockout. That's the issue. I want them to go kill. I want these speed warriors to go kill stripes and checkers at the bottom of the map. That's what I want them to do.
Well, I think they're comfortable enough with their military advantage that they're not really concerned at this point that we're going to be taking over the snail again. So they don't really care that it's... they get it almost at least to the middle of the map, right?
By the end of it? No, they don't get it back to the middle. It's close, but they don't get it back to it.
Yeah, it's heading toward mid-gate, but it doesn't come through the tunnel yet. I guess I'm just saying, from their perspective, it doesn't look like a big threat because of the military advantage, even if our snail's still, fairly far on our side.
Yeah, snail isn't even back out of the tunnel, let alone to middle. It's exiting the tunnel when the game ends.
Yeah. It's funny, like, this berry strat we're talking about is something that is always dismissed during tournaments, and yet on casuals, like even intense casuals, sometimes it works. Yeah. Like where teams win the game from this late berry thing, and yet I don't really know why it's globally dismissed. Almost globally. It's kind of weird.
It's worked I think there are 2 notable like tournament performances where it's sort of worked, like Kaz and New Guy, like those Cesar teams have done it before.
I was on one of those KQ20 maybe. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it was a way back one.
Night map, I think, but I'm not sure if that's the one.
I'm just like rewatching this.
Yeah, I think, like I was talking about, just the mental distraction. It's like if you give people just one distraction, it's not that much. But if you give them more than one, even if each distraction itself is very small, it's going to add up to more than the sum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have the snail and the berries, but if there's only 3 berries in, they're not going to care. I feel like when let's say 5 are in, they're noticing but not caring. When there's 7 in, they're definitely starting to care for sure. Maybe 6 even, but I feel like 7 is kind of the number. There's a question if we get to the critical point, but even if we don't get to that critical point, if there is that like mental distraction factor, that might be enough. We're just talking about tipping our the scale like just the slightest bit to improve our numbers,
Yeah. It's also one of the things, like, as much as I wasn't rushing, I was hard committing to pickups, right? Like, when I saw that there was a good opportunity, I went for it.
I also like this
Yeah.
part because you're just like bumping the queen to make time for the drone to get to right gate,
Yeah.
but you're also kind of baiting a stinch, which you're ready to punish.
Yeah.
Because they're speed warriors.
So
Mm.
so there's actually a super micro situation that I wanted to reveal here. I wish Helen was here to talk about it. But this death at right gate, so right here where I've now paused, once ever it catches up, when Helen's on the bevel,
And then Helen gets her back.
I want her to push right on the ceiling so badly. I want her to stay on the
like-
ceiling and push rightward. I don't
Like,
know. I don't know if it's
under-
paused. Is it paused yet on Twitch?
It's
Yes,
paused
pause. You mean
now.
like buffer
But-
away skulls?
Yeah, I just want her to
Oh,
move
right
on
here.
skulls.
Yes, to go to the right side of the bevel.
Yeah, because what I want to do is
Yeah, I
I want to
agree with
tag
that.
that gate, and I want to come
She
back
should not
up
be
and
dropping.
stick. But she drops a little bit,
Right.
which forfeits that pathway up, so I don't go for it. And then
Yeah,
that's
she
how
can
we
make the
ended up
column on the right.
Yeah, and that's why we ended up stuck here, and that's why I went down that way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But it's like it's such a specific thing because like she's falling because I've killed her by leaving, right? Like the moment I leave, she's dead, unless she falls. But then once
Except
Skulls
that,
also fell,
Gold Skull drops.
once Skulls also falls, like this specific moment that I've now paused at, rising back up and catching that ceiling and making it so Cody can't dive at all. So what I would do here is I see you coming from below, right? And you've got a great pathway. I think she just holds that. I scrape at the gate. You jump up, and it's me versus that speed warrior onto like holding this gate for you. Or you know what I could even do? Oh no. The play is I come back up. The play is in this frame. I come back up, and I move over to left gate. Is probably what I call for.
So you take the wrap.
Yeah, so I rise up to where Abs is. I have Abs just like face that way and just stop Cody from wrapping. I rise up, go to the top wrap to left gate, and then I've pushed both Speed Warriors over there, and one of them is below me because it's chasing you. Like, if I had risen up right there, look at how far Abs is over by you, and if I was like right now where Gold Queen is, and Gold Queen was stuck on the other side of the bevel, I would love that situation.
Can you go back like 10 seconds and watch it in
Yeah.
real time just to see if
Absolutely.
factoring people's reaction times in there and
Do
stuff?
you want it normal speed or?
Yeah.
Okay, it's playing.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's that point we see obviously Gold Skulls drops,
Yeah.
but we have to think about in the heat of the game, in the moment, what is Helen's read on that? Is that like a big surprise drop for Skulls to drop?
Yeah, I
or
mean, it looks
was
like
it,
it's like a second long that the opportunity to rise up there.
Let's see.
But it's also like she's got to be worried about the stick too. Even once he drops,
Right.
you got to be worried about him just sticking on top of you.
I actually think she had time to read that drop on Skulls
she
right
does, yeah.
here. Yeah, she kind of commits to a drop rather than committing to rising back up or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's
Right
also
here?
like this is such a specific like micro
Yeah.
that it's like
Yeah.
Yeah, but like when I watch footage, I spend more time on micro moments than most
Yeah.
people I know.
absolutely.
Like that's one
Yeah.
of the
That's,
things that I gain the most from.
yeah, it's a tough position. Like, I think two Sea Warriors,
I
one
think
Queen,
it's
there's that
readable.
little triangle too.
Yeah, I think it's super readable.
It's a weird, chaotic moment.
Yeah,
but-
it absolutely is.
Yep.
Because
I
I
think,
actually I go for
I-
it.
I
That's
think,
why I hit the ceiling. It's because I saw Skulls drop, and I actually thought I had enough time to rise up, but I hit
Right,
the
you-
ceiling. I was going for it, but I had gone too far right.
Although Cody does push past the bevel
Yeah.
though, so
Yeah.
even if he rose, it might have been bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but all this is to say, I think.
And if you,
Go ahead.
I was going to say you almost hit that mini J dive too.
Yeah.
Right before the final kill, so it was close. I think you weren't sure if you should go high or low at the very last moment. Actually,
Yeah. I didn't expect that warrior to commit to that, like clip.
right
Oh, right there.
The last kill.
at the very last. Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the game. I didn't expect Alyssa to commit to that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Wyatt kill.
Yeah, because
it's
it
a
was
very good
it was
kill.
in the mid space. It wasn't the high
Yeah.
ground or the low. It was in the middle. It's weird.
Yeah, it's a very, very good like counterplay.
Hmm.
She was just watching me.
Yeah,
It's a great catch.
she actually goes left a couple. She flips left to
Yeah.
correct her position a tiny bit. It is a really good play.
Yeah, it really
It's
is.
like
Yeah.
does not look like an accident. Yeah.
Could have gone through the wrap too, but then it was a speed warrior over there on the little tunnel.
Who could have done what?
Or
There's room there was room to escape through the wrap, but you'd have to pop through like in the
I think
snail
you could
tunnel.
have gone right. You could have gone through the middle wrap, I think.
No. There was a speed warrior already there, and there was I think another one of our because they were chasing one of our speed drones. But you
No, I mean
that low.
Oh, no, I mean well, I'm watching my own footage like in the tab. I'm watching it separately.
Are you talking about when I'm at the gate or when I'm on the ceiling?
Okay.
At the gate.
Okay. You
at
think
the
I could have gone
gate, yeah, I
down
see the-
right underneath the speed warrior?
You could have gone, so it would have put you like in the low part of the map.
Yeah.
You might even have to go to the snail net. Nonetheless, though, that was at least there's a viable escape there. It's hard to say if Goldabs was watching at that moment, because right before the game ends, Goldabs turns to like chase the drone again. So they might not have even been looking for you. You might have been able to sneak through the mid wrap there.
Yeah, I might have.
If you see it one more time, if you feel like
But
it.
also, I saw abs.
I know, but I'm saying, based on Ab's movement, I can't tell if Abs is actually looking at you. All they're doing is hunting the speed drones.
Yeah.
And I don't know for sure. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But that's definitely
It's
why
hard to
I
tell.
cut
It's
off
hard
that
to tell.
pathway to myself. Is like, I see abs over in that section.
Yeah.
Because like when I dive down that way, abs is like right next to that little nook.
Right. But so is the drone, and that's why it's ambiguous. But I understand your read.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with. In the moment, it makes sense. It would be too hard to tell.
Yeah, it's funny. I might have been you actually might have bumped abs into death. Might have worked out really well. You definitely get above them.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, maybe. Weird.
Yeah, and even if you did take the snail tunnel exit on the right, there would be, I guess, a little bit more room to wiggle out with.
The snail tunnel exit on the right?
Yeah, instead of the mini tunnel, we'll just take the entire low.
Oh yeah, the like bottom wrap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Helen was still alive there. I mean, she might have been in a pinch, but yeah, that's another possibility. So.
That's true too, but maybe them killing Helen would have bought you more time to just only have to like worry about juking one speed warrior.
Yeah.
With Dan bumping that guy out too or distracting him.
Yeah. I think the big thing is that remove any single one of these speed warriors from this section of the map.
Right.
And everything's a lot easier. Everything is so much easier if one of those speed warriors is not where they are. And I think like if we had 4 berries in right now, that would be enough to make one of those speed warriors not be where they are.
Right. That's why everyone hates worrying about their ledge guard, right?
Yep.
Or like we always have to prepare for berry teams because that means like one of us is not going to be able to support the full OBJ push.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. This was very specific. I liked this.
Yeah, this is weird. It's like trying to get back into the KQ mindset.
Right. D, you having fun?
The little moments.
D, you having a good time?
Yes, I'm there. I'm there. I'm there. I'm about to leave you, but I'm here.
It's funny. Yeah, what do you have going on tonight, KQB?
I am gonna practice some KQB.
Nice.
I think something that's been really cool, like, because obviously I've been playing a lot of it, like going back and seeing you guys have these panels and kind of like thinking in the context of, like how obviously so much of arcade has transferred into black, but like what can I take from all this time of having to play black, like back to arcade, because that's what I really want to be doing, is like the idea of that kind of flex, because you do have to have that kind of flexing much quicker in black. Like, all right, the snail's not working, like let's start running these berries, and you do that a lot quicker in black. So I think it'll be cool to see like how that mentality switches over. I know when I first started playing black a lot, like when I would go back to play arcade, Sam would be like, "D, you have to shut up. Like you're talking too much," because you have to communicate like everything in black. So there are certain things like that aren't transferable. Like the level of communication that you need for arcade is not the same, especially if you're like on the same level as people. So I just want to play arcade again.
That's really
Rob
really funny.
sending that clip to all of us made me go back and watch those games. It's just very, and like this weekend of like listening to all the panels and stuff, it's weird that we have to feel like I don't know, like we're remembering something that literally just happened like 2 months ago, but it feels so far away because none of us have touched the cab.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah, it's weird.
I was having some trouble on that panel, like actually thinking about the game. And then I felt like the panel itself got my KQ brain going, but then it was over, and then my brain was just going for the next 2 days, but like all the stuff I think I could have said better was finally feeling clear, or new ideas or old ideas, I mean, that were coming back.
Yeah.
Whereas sitting on the panel, I'm like, this is cool, I love that we're talking about it together and getting into it, but I wasn't tapping into my real insight, I felt like.
Yeah, what were some of those things?
Oh, well, one thing that jumped out, so I had mentioned what I was calling that look but don't touch mode of like Speed Warrior on Queen especially, where you try to get as close as you can, like as often as you can, but my rule for myself is like don't engage, no contact. But the part that I didn't really elaborate on, because I felt like it was implied in the moment or something, but the real truth of it is if you do it long enough, then you get to read the reactions from the opposing queen so many times over and over and over, and then you see them get annoyed. You see them gradually question their tech on the most normal things, and you do it for so long, and then eventually you start to see all kinds of windows for attacking, whereas previously maybe I had none. But if I keep up the pressure and keep varying how I'm doing it, eventually I see these windows, and then I've seen in very, very high-profile matches against very high-profile queens, eventually they start cracking, and then if it's not me, then somebody else is gonna get the kill.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
It's a process of reading and breaking them down, and it works really well, and it requires a whole lot of discipline. So this is where you put away your spice drawer for a little bit. You look like you're going to be spicy, but you're eating the pepper without the seeds or whatever, because people love these analogies, so I know they understand that. But, yeah, you got to wait for the time to, like, really add, hey, let's just violate a trademark and add the last dab,
I would say on the queen end,
I think
that's stressful. Like the constant fear that a warrior is going to hit me is much scarier than when they do it.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, so like one of the things that I was gonna say is like something that like Sarah first told me when I first moved to New York that she feared more than like most things was a warrior who could hit a single bounce horizontal pincer. And so I decided like I wanted to be really good at that. And so part of like me figuring out how to do that, because like I feel like now that is something that I'm really good at compared to like a lot of things that I'm really not. And like one of those things is kind of doing what Dan just said. It's kind of like for the first bit of the game, kind of like seeing how close I can get to a queen without like getting into the space that she's going to actually attack, to feel out what actually captures her attention the most. And like either doing that enough that she starts putting herself into weird positions, or doing it to a point where I feel like I can actually like capitalize on it. Because 9 times out of 10, like after the first couple of times that a queen really feels like you're fucking with her and you're not taking her like own bait, she's gonna go for it. But if you have that mindset, like Dan's saying, of like testing the waters and knowing how to pull back, you should be able to like come back and snap on her too. But that was definitely something that I got used to, or like tried to learn, especially about the queens here in New York, before I started to figure out how to put that into play for the horizontal pincer and like doing it with better precision.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine like going up against a team where every single warrior can hit horizontal pincers at extremely high regularity is terrifying. And I want to be that team.
I get no greater joy than when you fuck someone up for the horizontal pincers. Like my favorite thing in the entire game.
It's my favorite move for sure, and it's also like I love working on it with. So this is the thing that I think Dan and I can speak to more than most people, is because what I think is extremely unexplored, or at least unexplored among like top players, is viewing the horizontal pincer as a collaborative effort between a king and a warrior, where you can like discuss positions and like work into this vibe of when you know the other person is going to hit it. Because like Dan, you and I have like really hashed it out and like talked about it and like just let me know type stuff. And it's interesting because the only moments we miss in like unblockable moments in all of BB4 are stenches, because we're not on that wavelength yet. I don't know when you're looking for the stench, because it's like it's relatively newer that we're working into that into our repertoire. Whereas like the horizontal pincer, like I don't give a single one of those up. It's that day map in grand finals, I let up a stench opportunity that you had because I was scared of my back, but you totally had it. I should have stayed. You totally had it. But it was because it was a stench, not a horizontal, and I didn't see it. Oh, do you have to leave for a minute?
Right. I guess.
Oh yeah, she just messaged the chat. Got to go. Bye.
Okay.
But yeah, that's definitely one of the things I've thought about a lot.
The stench, it's like, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. And the standard horizontal pincer, the queen and the warrior both know, you're both up there. You can see both sides of it.
Yeah.
The stench inherently has to be hidden or a surprise or something, unless they're forced to stay up there. So if I'm looking for it, I know I have the option of calling it and saying, I think I'm going to do this, but it just in the moment, I don't know. It's like so much effort to read the moment and
it's a lot. It's
make the decision without announcing it.
What's funny is that if
the best I can do is,
if the other one had been going for the stench, I probably would have seen you. Because like I was here, they were up here, and you were down here. And so like my mind was all up in this space, and you were out here, down here, outside of my like sphere of awareness.
Right. And outside of their sphere of awareness.
Yep.
So it's by design, because you have to be by the queen. You have to be in the same sphere as the queen physically or positionally. Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I'll try to find that.
I think there was something else you wanted to say.
It might have just been related to that.
Okay. Also, welcome Ian.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
God damn it! Did I miss all the interesting people? Ah, fuck.
I don't know. They're supposed to show up.
No, sorry. I'm very happy to be here. It's good to see you.
Man, yeah, I was hoping you'd bring somebody interesting, man. Come on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Where's Chuck? Let me go find him. Oh, damn! What did I just miss? What was the?
We were talking about horizontal pincers for a while, and a little bit about stenches. But one of the things that I brought up is, and Dan and I were kind of speaking to, is I think Dan and I might be the only like high profile like collaborative effort between a Queen and Speed Warrior to specifically flesh out doing horizontal pincers at the highest level. Those two pieces can do them together. And,
yeah,
like, specifically
that's right.
working on that maneuver and like
Maybe.
when will it happen?
Possibly, yeah.
Like maybe.
Well,
maybe the one might do it.
The one other time I remember you talking about this, you had mentioned Wilk in the mix of people who can confidently hit it.
Yeah.
Like all the time.
But if Wilk ever zoned in like that with any queen, which I guarantee that Wilk's never done, like the way that me and Dan have been like, hey, I want to be here, and or like when this situation happens, that's how I know you're gonna hit it, or like even communication tools where Dan will say one more bump, stuff like that, and he'll hit it, like all of that. But like now it's to a point where like a lot of the horizontal pincers we hit was just like, you know how long I'm gonna stay somewhere. And you can look at the external forces around me and be like, oh, Woody's going to be here for X amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
That was like that J horizontal pincer you hit on Night Map against Sam. I think that was game 5. Where we were both bumping at mid-gate.
Yeah,
and you hit the J dive to hit it. I was like, we had bumped like 5 times.
Hey,
and it was just, you knew that I would stay there, and you knew that we were going to bump into perpetuity.
Can I ask
I was coming across the top, so I wasn't like on the radar of the opposing queen until the last couple bumps. In fact, I wasn't even on it probably because I looped around for the J pretty quick.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just narrowing down my window for actually, or the threat window of the horizontal pincer was only the last couple bumps maybe. Sorry, yeah. Go ahead, Ian.
Well, so my question is one that I've wanted to ask for a long time, but been a little nervous because it might sound stupid. Why do we call it horizontal pincer as opposed to just pincer? Like, aren't pincers always horizontal?
Actually,
for the most part,
we've talked. Was it? I've talked. No. The answer is.
I mean, as opposed to stinches. Options. We have a name for stinches though, right? That seems to be to me what the vertical pincer.
But a stinch is a stick pincer. It relies on a stick.
Okay.
That's why it's stinch is stick pincer put together portmanteaued. But the horizontal pincer is a super good word for it because a lot of pincers aren't horizontal or at least purely horizontal. Like what you're saying is this is a purely horizontal pincer and it's like a shorthand for that involves the queen's bump stun, and it's a nice shorthand for there. I'm not sure. I think it was that phrase originated in New York, but like, I think there was somebody that joked like in Slack one time whenever people were using a horizontal pincer that was like, "What are you guys hitting vertical pincers?" And then I pointed to, and then they're like, "I'm like, yes, we are." There's a very good clip.
There was one.
Yeah. Do you have a good example? Because I can find one pretty easily too.
Okay.
Well, it's in my memory, but maybe we talked about it. Maybe you know what it was.
The one I'm thinking about
I'm thinking of something on Night Map that
on Night. But it was a camp with Nick.
Say it again.
It was with Camp KQ with Nick Davis. Me and Nick Davis was the vertical pincer that I can remember. It was on a Night Map. It was over by Snail.
I'm thinking of a moment, might have been different. It was between mid-gate and right-gate on Night Map. It was in that little vertical channel.
Gotcha.
But you know what? I have to. I shouldn't talk about it until I find it or can describe it better.
Gotcha. I can
don't know who I talked about
this
it with.
one really reliably, and I will also find it. But so the status was the Snail was leaving that small ledge right before the net, right? And it was closing in on the net, so it was about to leave that pathway. And their queen was coming from the middle of the map, and I was up. It was my Snail was going in, and I was up by the hive. And what ends up happening is that their queen looks to go dive on the Snail, but I come in diving in that exact channel, which meant that they couldn't go leftwards. They had started to dive, but they couldn't go leftwards, so they start to go rightwards. And as a result, I forget whether or not Nick sticked them or J-dived or just hard pursued or whatever, but essentially they had left the ceiling in order to dive on the Snail, and then I vertically cut off their pathway to that ceiling. And because I vertically cut off the pathway to the snail, they couldn't go leftwards. Like, I cut off their horizontal movement with my vertical movement. And that's just a vertical pincer, right? That's me using vertical space to pincer an opponent.
Okay.
The thing that I was thinking of, I might not describe perfectly, but what I recall is, okay, think of Night Map, right gate, and the ceiling above that.
Yeah.
The ceiling opens up in the center of the map, right?
Sure.
So in that center channel below Midgate, there was an enemy warrior or queen or something, and the moment involved the only escape that they could have was going up, because their right movement was cut off by the ledge above right gate, and there was something else somewhere else that kind of they couldn't move upward because somebody came down from the top.
Okay.
So they got squashed vertically rather than horizontally.
Okay. All right.
But they were constricted horizontally by the edge of the ceiling over right gate.
Right. Exactly.
Because they're on the edge of it. Yeah. And I forgot the exact thing, but it had to do with that. So the vertical channel was the only escape, and someone cut it off.
Yeah. I feel like a cap kill, where you're hovering just outside of and above a ledge, is like, by nature, not a pure horizontal pincer, right? You're this manipulation of vertical space to do it.
It's somewhere in between.
I gotcha. That always sort of struck me as just an extension of a pincer, but
it is. It is just.
I think I had just been.
It's not an extension of a pincer. It is a literal pincer.
It's not a. Oh, okay, yeah. An extension of a horizontal pincer, I should say.
Yeah.
But I gotcha. No, I get that now. To me, I don't know. The only frame of reference I had ever had for a pincer was while people are scraping. It's like anything else to me was just occurred to me as like a that's just a kill.
Yeah, but it's holding columns and I found it. This is a perfect example. I'm gonna throw on it on slow, and I'm gonna pop it open, and I'll let me know when you guys are watching. Display capture on. That's you guys. All right, I've got it pulled up, and let me know whenever you guys are ready.
Sure.
Cool.
Yep.
So what's going to happen is Cody's going to dive down on the snail, and then Cody is Gold Queen, and he's going to try to bop back up. But I cut off his vertical space so that he couldn't ride straight upwards. He had to go right into Nick.
Oh, you're not. Yeah. Well, we are, but I don't know if they can hear. I don't know if they can.
Hey, what's up, Esparza?
Yeah.
Whoa.
What's
up, man?
Yeah, what up?
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, Esparza was just dropping off a frame for me.
Hey.
Can I do this on camera?
It's funny. What'd you get framed?
Hello?
What's up, Mike?
Hey, what up?
It's good to see you, buddy. You look good.
How you doing?
Thank you. Well, not really. I gained some weight from, quarantine, but...
Well, I still think you look good. So...
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about?
This is... You are streamed right now. This is Killer Queen Flight School's office hours that we do every other Wednesday.
Oh.
We're talking about really specific micro moments of, like, pincers.
Okay. Pincers.
Yeah.
So is that what today's segment is?
So today was pretty much basically post-panel is the idea. Because over the weekend for the Beehive event, we held like 4 different Killer Queen strat panels. And so it's like, those were just specific questions that a moderator posed to like specific panelists. And so it was like, oh, let's get together in like a more casual setting. And if anyone like wants to hop in and talk to the people and ask them any questions about stuff on the panels, feel free to do that. But nobody did that. So, well, there's Ian. Ian's doing it. But everyone else here is just on a panel. Me, Dre, and Dan were all on panels.
Oh, so wow. Okay. Cool. Yeah, whatever.
Discussing things.
Wait, whose voice is that?
That's me. It's Ian.
Ian Lukitas.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Good. How about you?
Oh, pretty good. Can't complain. Just hanging in there.
Yeah, why can't we see you, Ian?
Cool.
Yeah. What's that?
Yeah, why can't we
Why
see
can't
you?
you see? Oh well, two reasons. One is my camera is not on, but the bigger reason is I don't have a shirt on.
That's fine.
So-
Who cares?
I'm gonna
Isn't that?
I'm gonna fix one of those.
I mean, I don't stream your faces. It's not like your
Well, that's
chest,
unfortunate.
your shirtless body would be on stream. We would just see it. Your friends. I live with you. I saw your
So
shirtless body
who's
today.
listening? Who's here? And
No, I gotta show some modesty, man. Come on.
Well, it's, Dan Barron and Andrew Coppola is also here, but he hasn't said anything. So I think he. I think
no, I
he
mean,
just
who's
mutes
learning?
and like hangs out and listens, but never says anything.
He's
No,
the
my,
lurker.
my question is, who are the students?
I mean, aren't we all really students of the game? We are
I agree with that.
eternal disciples. Okay, how do
Oh
I?
man, I'm wearing a Killer Queen shirt too. I
Yeah, it
feel-
works.
feel
You look good.
stupid.
Thank you for the branding. It's nice. I'm wearing a flamingo shirt.
All right, guys. Well, I gotta go. I gotta go smoke a cigarette.
All right, I'm gonna say. Oh, Mike, are you?
Talking to you guys.
Real quick before you go, are you doing
All right, man.
framing work right
Nope.
now?
Am I what?
Are you
Hey,
doing framing
yeah.
work right now? Cool. I just got
Hey,
I'm
hey,
framed
hey!
up. 2
Show
kick-ass
me your frame.
prints that I would need framed.
That-
and I want to.
Hey, Woody, turn on the video stream. Stream this.
You want me to stream your guys' faces? Oh, that's great. Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Is that?
Oh, man,
is that,
awesome.
Is
That's
that
why I'm here.
Paul's hand?
It's huge. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Look how big it is. Wait, hold on. Look how big it is.
It's
In
enormous.
comparison.
That's
Look, my hand is like the size of the middle finger.
yeah, bigger than a real finger.
That's awesome. But yeah, Mike, I'll send you photos of the prints. And the sizes.
So Andrew's saying that he just had the poster up and he wanted to have it framed, so that's where I came in.
Nice.
But no, yeah, just hit me up on Facebook.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a
or
message.
Messenger or whatever.
right. Yeah. The Daphne thing.
Oh, you want it?
I
Well,
won.
who won it?
I won it. Yeah, I won one
Nice.
of them,
Nice.
and then Amar didn't want the other, and we traded a different. I traded a different prize I won for it, so I have both of them.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I really do gotta go. It's
Yeah,
nice seeing
love
you
you,
guys.
buddy. See you
Good
later.
luck with
Yeah,
the
see you too.
flight
Stay
school.
safe.
Pass you on to Andrew for a quick sec.
Fuck yeah. Dude,
Everyone,
Trey.
mic out real quick.
What's up?
Wait, you're here.
Yeah, no, I miss you.
Oh, I miss you
I
too,
don't,
man.
it's good to see your face. I've been meaning to call you,
Yeah.
but we'll catch up later. I want to know how
Yeah,
you're quarantined.
I'll be right back.
Yeah,
I'll be right back.
Ian looks like he's in heaven right now.
I feel like I'm in heaven. Are you kidding? I just moved into a place that I can like breathe in. I'm just settling in. It's like
I don't know
all
about
of the
breathe.
potential.
I don't
of a
know
new
about breathe.
place. Who's typing vigorously? Is that Dan?
Oh, me. My bad. It's close to the mic.
That's it.
How about that?
Oh, okay. All right. All right there.
This is stream.
Yeah, man. This is literally like this is.
Quit.
I hate to say it, maybe because it's like it's setting the bar very low, but this is the ideal life for me. It's like talk about KQ, chill, and hang out with friends. Like that's literally all I could want at this point.
And
At
never
this
play
point-
KQ?
Okay. If there one caveat, yeah, but as long as nobody can play KQ, I'm okay with not personally playing KQ. It's like a moratorium on getting good.
Interesting.
So you theory craft. It's where the theory crafters really shine, and I feel like I am talking to 3 of the cream of the crop theory crafters. So Yeah. I'm pretty happy right now. Gotta say.
Life's good.
Yeah, man. Vertical stinches, vertical pinches, whatever they are. I wanna see exactly what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, I found it. Okay, so let's do that. I'll pop it on display
Is that-
capture
that's-
and go over. Okay, so yeah, we were talking about it before Mike joined in. But yeah, this moment I feel like is such a perfect example of like both of us are meeting him vertically, Like I'm cutting off his rise to the left. Like this is There's very little about this pincer that is horizontal, but the kill doesn't happen if we're both there. It is a pincer, you know? It's like a Dungeness crab claw.
Dungeness crab. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's true. It's a pincer from horizontal and vertical.
Yeah.
I mean, Blue Checks isn't pushing in at that moment, but they have the left column and we're just next to the queen like a moment before.
Yeah.
So it really is like a full squeeze.
This is 4:46:38.
I don't know. I moved away.
Okay.
Because I can think of
might have been
another
a
one
little
actually
behind.
that happens on a day map that's kind of similar. Like we're like it, and really all this is it's not, this isn't anything special or interesting. It's mostly just to be like, if you look at this pincer and go, oh yeah, I wouldn't call that horizontal. Well then yeah, it's because not all pincers are horizontal. You know, that's all this is like saying. It's not like some big claim. It's not supposed to like be like a revelation that like says a ton of things.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. It is strange to me because like strange in the way that I always think of pincers as being 3 people scraping, 2 of them closing in on. Like that's what I think of as the pinch.
Yeah, which is like not how
But no, that's fair. I mean, like if you conceive of it as like columns, like that's you know, the closing in can be from any vertical height.
Yeah, I am playing through some of KQ. Oh, I found it. Okay, great. I was playing through a bunch of KQ 30 right now, and I thought it was this game, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So I was just playing it fast until I found the moment. But here's another good example of one coming up really soon here. Blue Queen and Blue Abs will, but like both essentially stinch, or no one. So this is a weird one because it's like I'm the stincher, you know.
Okay.
Like rather than me bumping the queen. And I've paused it now so you can kind of see like what's going on. But all I'm doing is like I'm cutting off the queen's like horizontal movement so that she has to vertically collide with Abs, right?
Yeah. I can't see what you're talking about,
Oh,
but
is it not
I
showing
can
up?
picture it.
You,
What's that?
You have to go to Twitch.
Oh, are you not on the
Oh,
Twitch
yeah,
that we're watching
okay.
all the clips on?
Oh no, I'm not actually on Twitch.
Oh,
That's I guess my bad.
that would be. Let's stop it.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
And on that picture that you were just showing, the distinction between horizontal and vertical is like very subtle, right?
Well,
Because
I-
the
the-
queen is only like half a body length
Yeah.
from.
So the thing
the
is
ceiling.
what the horizontal pincer, reason why it's called horizontal pincer is because a 100% horizontal pincer. Like it has nothing to do with verticality, you know? Like that's the point of it. That's why it's called a horizontal pincer. That's why that naming convention exists. It's to talk about this specific interesting microcosm. And then people went, well, I don't understand why that's useful. And it's like, it's useful because look at all these kills that have nothing to do with the specific dynamic we're trying to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
You might have noticed I put a link into that Stinch opportunity during BB4 finals that we were discussing like 5-10
that'd be
minutes
cool to
ago.
watch.
The day map one. Yeah.
Alright, I just got it pulled up. I'm going to pause, pop my display capture back on, go back over to it. Next time a little bit. Yeah, so me and Dan are on gold team, and you can see like I'm on pressure by Blue Abs on my back, and so I move away, but Blue Abs doesn't go for the pincer, but Dan has the stench, and I take it from him.
Mm-hmm.
Take it. That's how we warriors feel. Queens take it from us.
I deprive you of it.
It's always a competition with your own team.
It would have been huge. Like, we probably win the game if you hit this stench. Like, Snail's Snail's out of the tunnel for us, and their queen's on last. I think we win that game, you know?
It's amazing that I didn't die in that exchange.
That you don't die,
that Sam didn't turn. He just kept pushing toward you.
And then you get a kill.
Because I committed fully.
Yeah, he could have turned.
Yeah.
I did a full commit. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have also died to that speed warrior, and instead I end up getting a kill on the other warrior.
It's so, like...
vanilla. Oh, speed.
Yeah.
Wait, they're both speed.
Yeah, they're both speed. You take out one of their speed warriors. Which, that would have been really... if you had gone down here, it would have been really bad for us.
Is that B-Wong or Sarah?
Which one?
Wait,
B-Wong is Skull.
The one that almost... Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So Sarah almost gets the kill on you.
Yeah, Sarah's Blue Abs. I'm Gold Abs.
Yeah. What's interesting is I was anticipating Sarah... I wish I had the panel before the tournament. Sarah in the Speed Warrior panel was talking about how they haven't been as excited about horizontal pincers and committing to them anymore, especially against queens that they think have counterplay for it. If I had known that, I just would have stayed bumping. We would have gotten this kill. But in my past experience playing against Sarah, they've been super good at hitting horizontal pincers and often going for
definitely.
them. And this specific game state of 3 warriors, one of which is a speed, and we only have 2 warriors. That seemed to me I was oh, Sarah's definitely going to go for this. And so, that's why I hit the counterplay and chose to lose the space. But,
The funny thing about what you said, though, is, if queens are getting good at the counter stinch, then for me, that means I just have to get better than the queens at stinching them. I'm not going to stop doing that. I'm just going to get better at it.
Yeah,
and figure out.
It builds. It's
always building. Just keep going with it, not abandon it. Yeah, it builds.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes, and it's a general way of thinking that sometimes comes into play, rather than trying to improve something or integrate it as a component of something greater, people will just get rid of it. One example that comes to mind is the idea of Fortress. And I think we associate with Fortress with BB3 mostly, or the lead up to BB3 maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Because everybody was calling for it and implementing it and stuff. But then after that, everyone's like, "Oh, Fortress, that's dumb. That's old. That's outdated." And I'm just like, "What? It's not outdated. It's just a game
off
strategy.
Right now.
Why would you stop? Why would people Well, I don't know. They'll write things off as if they're better than it. Oh, I'm done with that. I already did that. It's not good anymore.
Yeah.
It's wrong. It's so wrong. The principles of Fortress, it's just you're doing a simplified version of something. And as you get good at that component, then you're integrated into the larger picture. And then you don't necessarily start calling for Fortress. It's just it's just something you refer back to. It's integrated more seamlessly in.
Yeah.
The outdated part is saying Fortress is a complete transformation. We flip a switch and now it's Fortress.
Yeah.
That's the simplified.
Yeah.
Things should be more fluid eventually.
And that's
it kind of goes with every skill. And then another thing going with it real quick.
No, you go.
Is that when things are in that stage of being new. Sorry, what?
I said, yeah, you go.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. When things are new, then they also tend to get overused, which leads to that feeling of something being played out. But I'm finding the same thing because with everything, with sticks, with stinches, when they get popular, everybody's overdoing them and having a low success rate eventually when they get caught on. But they have a legacy of improving overall gameplay if you don't put your ego into it you're better than something that was popular before.
Yeah.
For the newer players, can you give a brief synopsis of what Fortress is?
Sure, I could, or someone else could.
You're on a roll.
Well, it pretty much amounts to it's usually it's for a snail push, and if it's often when you're closing out snail, but it can occur at any point in the game technically, and it's pretty much like all hands on deck. Like everybody get to the snail, and you form a ring, sort of like you have you like box out an area.
Okay.
You make it a fortress that is hard to get into. So you have players above the snail on both sides. Like, it's easy to imagine it on dusk or a day map. It's a little harder on night because night has a lot more pathways. But you pretty much box out an area so that any enemy entering into it, it's like, I think Rishi used to call it the death zone or something. Like, I don't know if he used to have his own way of talking about it. But it's kind of like a simplified, like, setting up, you're bounding it horizontally, and you're covering the high ground, and you're covering the low ground. I don't know. You can travel with it. You can, like, ideally, if you're running a snail optimally, I suppose, you're going to be perpetually repositioning your players, and it's almost like a moving fortress or something. But at least to me, the idea of fortress was a much more simplified, like, we're all going to plant in this position and scrape, and as long as the snail's moving, we don't really do anything. Someone can add to that. I haven't tried to describe that in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot. It's from what I've seen, because I kind of missed the heyday of fortressing, but it was like having 3 points of coverage right around the snail, one basically right above it, and one kind of up and to the left, one up and to the right. And just box out the snail. Make it so that if anybody wants to come contest the snail, they have to get through, all 3 warriors hypothetically.
Yeah,
I was gonna just
they had to go underneath someone.
I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you're coming in from one side, you're not going through all 3. But like you were contesting a warrior to get to the snail space, no matter which direction you're coming from.
Right.
That was the idea.
And I think that that's like a principle that we're obviously employing all the time.
Right.
But what made Fortress what it was, like a thing, was that people would call for it. They'd be like, all right, Fortress, that means everybody just come here and kind of ignore the map. So you might be fortressing just to move the snail, but at the same time, you're neglecting the gates. You might just totally stop caring about everything but the snail zone.
Yeah.
At least to me, that's what made Fortress kind of obsolete as a standalone thing.
Yeah.
Right.
But continues to be used. And even though we've been using those principles for a long time, it wasn't until somebody put a name on it that more people had an easy trigger in their brain for what to do.
It became a
straightforward. Because once you identify the game state and give it a name, just like columns, exactly.
It's
I think that's the mistake once it becomes easy and you're not thinking about it, that's when the idea of any kind of strategy becomes it becomes a mistake to write it off. It becomes stale as soon as people are just like, oh, Fortress is mindless. You just do this one thing. Whereas if you thought of it as a dynamic thing that a dynamic strategy that interacted with what the other team was doing, then it's more complicated than that.
Yeah, it's also one of the weird things about it is the reason why people were like, oh hey Andrew, good to see your face. The reason why people were like, Fortress is bad, is they would go, oh, Fortress is bad because all you have to do to break it up is do this specific sequence of things. And it's a reminder. It really reminds me, especially because it was primarily New York people that started saying that. It reminds me exactly of the critical response to my night opener to push the snail early on, which was that's such a dumb opener. All you have to do is this specific exact set of circumstances to beat it. And I'm always just you're right, but also you've just admitted that what my strategy is doing is forcing you to do one singular exact correct thing. And if I know that's what you're gonna do, I'm in a really damn good spot.
Mm-hmm.
If I force you to
You
do one thing, you know you're going to do it.
Counter that. Yeah.
That's great for me. I love that position. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think people get like two things confused, which is something being bad and something being like off meta or like really really predictable. But there's a lot of, I know I talk about Melee too much, but I think that there are characters in Melee that are literally just written off as like bad characters, and in the past there have been people who have literally just been like, no, you're just saying that because like nobody plays them, you don't play them, like they haven't been developed at all, and suddenly somebody starts playing them and playing them at a really high level and they shoot up like 6 positions. I think it's the same thing with any like given strategy, given opener. It's like, when I say given strategy, I mean like fortressing, like a micro. It's like, when people start doing it really badly, and like the only examples in people's minds are like, times when Fortress didn't work, times when this opener didn't work, it becomes this like, oh, well, this is just bad. And I mean, obviously there are some that just are going to be bad, like, fucking, but I think for the vast majority of cases, it's just no representation, no like actual trying to like work out when this would be good, or what this counters, anything like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and also to add, I think you used the word predictable early on in there, and predictable does not mean bad. You know what? It's predictable. Lockout. It's like, yeah, we're wiped. I know what you're going to do. It doesn't make it weaker, though.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's just, developing a good lockout. It's like, if everybody was running lockout poorly, I think there would be a contingency of people who are just saying like, oh, why even do lockout? Like, lockout's not even a good strategy. But like, that's not how it is. It's like, it's just people doing it badly.
Right. Well, I guess if you're faced with a choice between lockout and fortressing, that's where we see that a pure fortress strategy is not the move. Like, we, at least as far as the game seems to work, lockout does seem to be much more important, because you can still leverage Snail with lockout. Fortress is just one way to do it, and there's certain moments where you don't have lockout, but you can see, if we set up a fortress, we can get the Snail past a critical point, and then fortress is over. We leave the fortress, But
right,
I think when it was newer, people thought of fortress as sort of an end goal, whereas it's just kind of like for moments, for benchmark or milestones or whatever.
Yeah. And that was why people
did it like a milestone.
What did you say, Dre?
Like, it's kind of like, I think same thing what you were saying, Dan, earlier is in EN2. When people like think of Fortress, they think of it just as this overall strategy, this goal to reach to, but really like Lockout, Fortress, and like columns are really just concepts that you employ and utilize within the overall game. And the second thing I was going to say is that like I think people, when it was first coming out, people were utilizing Fortress like poorly too, and not doing it correctly, because Woody, you mentioned it as well. It's like, I think obviously like the only time you ever want to effectively maximize the fortress is when you have all the gates. Nobody wants. I personally don't want to leave a gate hanging, or like one gate hanging when I'm in the fortress. It just doesn't make sense to do that, because the goal should be locked. I think what the goal really should be like locked out first, then fortress.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if they're one, but yeah, I don't know. Just.
Well, I think maybe the two don't exist together exactly, because if you have lockout and then you fortress, lockout, it goes away, I think, right?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking in terms of just having like gate control then versus lockout, having all the gates your color first.
Yeah. I think it's just like
it's like a choice of what to do once you have all the gates. Is like, do you focus on lockout, or do you say, screw it, we're gonna fortress instead?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like...
well, I guess lockout happens when they have no warriors.
Yeah, there's a clear trigger for lockout. There's a clear trigger for lockout of, like, no warriors, like you said, Dre. But I think the big thing is, like, Fortress, where it like really was mostly used, was snail is close, let's win the game.
Right.
And so if what fortressing
right.
is because it's not we scrape in these places and then snail moves indefinitely forever. It's by assuming these positions, we will maximize snail progress in this zone for the foreseeable future. And if that lasts long enough for the snail to go into the net, then all their warriors, like, not even like victory condition in the net, but like it's closing in, then all of their warriors have to play like freaking idiots to stop you, and they're all flying into incredibly vulnerable positions, and you're getting free falling or diving kills on them, and you're just making your opponent play from a point of weakness. And it's weird because, like, the fortress was super common in pulling snail back for years. Teams would always go, oh shit, their snail's really far, everybody stay here, we gotta make sure this thing moves back. And then someone went, man, we should just do that proactively, and we should all be there on closing out our snail, so when they arrive, they have to go underneath us. And then someone went, how dumb. And it's just a if snail is 5 seconds from the basket, and I can hold fortress for 5 seconds, then I win the game. And that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, so the other thing that I was wondering is, Dan, at some point you said that you thought Fortress, it's not Fortress was weak because of this, but there was a trade-off or something where people who were fortressing were giving up gate control. Like they were sacrificing, like that's when it maybe doesn't work as much or something along those lines. And it kind of occurred to me that Fortress might be, like, in that end game, it might be really effective because it causes kind of a trade-off. It's like the queen, so the queen, obviously, if there's nobody contesting any gates, the enemy queen is like, oh, perfect, I'll tag all the gates. But the kind of flip side to that is that all of that takes time. And if the fortressing team has calculated that the enemy team doesn't really have enough time to tag all the gates before they can close out snail, then that might be the trade-off. You're like, okay, fine, screw it, have gates. We're gonna close out the snail and just win the game. And I mean that seems like what it is it's making, well, first off, it's making the other team play like idiots, like what he said, but second off, it's making them make a coordinated snap decision of whether or not they have enough time to, like, reform, grab all the gates, and then attack the snail, or whether they just have to send literally everybody who gets up one by one to snail, which is, kind of creates this, like, repeating cycle of them getting somebody up and sending it to the snail and then probably dying. So yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a fortress going, then it would be best for the other team to rebuild a complete force to try to bust the fortress. But to what you're saying, often that doesn't happen, especially if you're using fortress to close the snail, and then it is that moment of, like, I could either go in and try to bust the fortress, but I'm outnumbered, or I can just wait until my team is completely ready, but I'm watching the snail inch ever closer to the gate, to the net.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm agreeing with what you said. You're pointing out what I was thinking too, pretty much.
Yeah, solid. And so
yeah, it's
you first.
Go on. Yeah.
Oh, I was just
saying it's all you, man. I'm not jumping in this time. It's you.
Just a brief. I mean, I was just saying that it becomes this crux. It becomes like a pressure point on the other team, where you're just kind of really digging your thumb in and saying, okay, you have to choose how you're going to respond to this. So
yeah,
but
and just one more thing about what Woody was saying. I guess maybe this is redundant, but you can apply the fortress to not just the closing and not just the pullback, but like the dusk tunnel, for example, because that's one of the spots, one of the middle tunnels on dusk where the snail stalls out, and you usually need the queen to join up on that. And if the queen is joining to, push the snail through a tunnel, they're not tagging gates, and so it's kind of a natural. Either you can fortress to push the snail through those tough zones, or oftentimes it's like a touch and go, I think, where the queen like sweeps through the tunnel and then carries on with the rest of the business. I don't know. I just thought of that distinction of sometimes the queen just swoops through and sometimes plants there. And when the queen is hanging out there, it is kind of like a fortress application. I don't know. It might not have much value to it. We might have already covered that stuff.
You're talking about like in the middle space of dusk to move snail?
Yeah, the middle dusk tunnel.
I think you guys did
to the
that.
sides of Midgate.
Mind Freak did that in practice at least a lot for BB3, I feel like.
I think so.
That early fortress on snail to get it into the tunnel.
Yeah,
that
you're
was
right.
a
We
mid-opener.
did specifically declare that. Yeah.
It was great. It worked really, really well. I mean, I remember it, like, we had to, that was, like, where a lot of my, like, fortress busting strats came from, was, like, hammering up against that wall all the time and just being like, okay, how do we solve this? And it ended up, and it's honestly, I think that was why I developed a lot of the feelings I do about, like, let me get every gate and then come back to snail. Because I realized that when the enemy team is spending so much time on objective pressure, I can just take all the gates. And it directly translates to when we play against Sam and on Night Map, and he never leaves middle gate at opener. And so I just like run around and tag both side gates and both speed gates and come back. Like those are all like the same like brain path development to me. Of like, oh yeah, like they're focusing very heavily on objective. I will go and get every single gate and come back.
Yeah, makes sense. It's good insight.
And that kind of speaks to like a broader thing that I feel like, back to the objective panel, they were talking about like, okay, you guys are guarding snail, I'll run berries, you know, stuff like that. Is like a lot of this game is like seeing that there are really high value things that you can do for low effort. Like if the enemy team will let you, if they consolidate what they're doing, and you can just go do other things that are really productive, like tagging every gate on the map, it's like, yeah, well, I'll go do that. And most of strategy kind of assumes that people aren't doing that people aren't consolidating heavily into something. It kind of is like, oh yeah, when you're both trying pretty equally for the same things, how do you push an advantage?
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why
that's a really interesting way to put it.
And I think that's why like sometimes people go like, oh, why did that person do this thing? Like that doesn't seem like strategically the smartest thing. And it's like, oh well, an opportunity presented itself. You can't assume opportunities present themselves. They so seldom happen. But like that was such a high value opportunity. Of course they're gonna take that.
Right. I think there's this thing in Killer Queen, and I mean, because it's sort of a general like principle of how like psychology of like how people think is that it's like we overvalue the like big plays, the big moments, and in this case it's like strategies that bring you into conflict. It's like it sticks out in our mind more when queens are competing for one thing, one space, like, one gate, whatever. And so we kind of undervalue, I think, strategies where it's exactly like you said. It's like, oh, you're going to sit above middle gate? Sure, fine, totally, take it. I'm going to take all the other gates.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not flashy. It's not, like, combative. It doesn't make a conflict, so we don't necessarily like see it as we underestimate its value.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Everyone just goes oh, they're doing different things right now. Oh, and finally they're doing the same thing again.
Right.
And that's like back to the action, back to the conflict.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Did everybody go quiet?
Yeah, everyone stopped talking.
Oh, just to psych me up.
No, I think I was done speaking and no one started speaking.
That concept actually makes me think of like celebrity culture, like
Really?
where everybody loves like movie stars, but like the best actors are like the character actors that are in like every single movie, and they're fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Stephen Root. Stephen Root.
Yeah, Stephen Root is a great one.
Yeah.
Harry Dean Stanton, of course. But like, it's those people that like make the movie, right? Like, you can have a movie with all of those people, and without any stars at all, but you can't have a movie with just one star.
Yeah.
So it's
totally.
it's more important.
Yeah, like Rat Race.
Yeah.
I've never seen Rat Race, but I know Dre well enough to know that that's probably a really bad example.
Well, it's like Rat Race or the live action Banjo-Kazooie movie.
Oh my god. Oh. Yeah, no, I think that's totally right. It's how people get sneaky good. It's like, I think people that pick up on that shit get good really fast and without any kind of fanfare.
Yeah, just like Rat Race.
Just like Rat Race, exactly. My favorite movie, actually. I put it in the top 10.
I always forget that about you.
Yeah.
Actually, Ian, what you just said about people getting good by doing these things with no fanfare, I'm gonna loop this back to things I didn't talk about as much as I wanted to on the Speed Warrior panel. And everybody's talking all the time about, hype plays, play for the highlight, blah, blah, blah. But, like, most of the best players, they select when they're going for the highlight reel.
Yeah.
Like, they're just being disciplined the rest of the time.
Yes.
And Speed Warrior has this, like, ridiculous stereotype that all you do is go for flashy stuff because you move faster. And you can die and come back. But, like, honestly, the word that I was missing in that discussion that I always think of is discipline. Like, it's just literally that.
I actually think you said discipline.
You know how many opportunities in every game I see that I might be able to go get some flashy kill? It's like the entire game. But I spent almost the entire game not going for them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's missing from other people. And, like, some of them have that. But people who are aspiring to be more effective Speed Warriors, it's literally discipline in that realm.
Yeah.
It's restraint.
Restraint. That's another really good word for it.
Well, I think it's weird.
I remember asking... Oh, sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
I remember asking Dan very early on when I played Killer Queen, is like, what makes a good Speed Warrior? And it was... I had been kind of fishing around with this question, and I don't remember the exact word you used, but essentially what I picked up was, you told me that it's like your utility, player in a way. You fill in anywhere. You are the fastest person on the board. You can get to any place the fastest. You are filling in wherever the rest of your team is kind of flagging. Yeah. And it's the flashy plays come when the flashy plays come, but you cannot go for them for the at the expense of filling in where you're needed.
Yeah.
I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that was totally right, and I think if you watch a lot of like your plays, like your videos, which I've watched a fair amount, it's like you see a lot of you just kind of like doing the mundane jobs, is like covering for ledges when they go down and shit like that, like things nobody praises.
Yeah, well, it's like Dan's number one pet peeve is when ledge doesn't say they died, so he didn't cover it quick enough.
Yeah.
It is, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's what you just described of, so filling in the blanks, utility player, but the other key element at the same time is you have to be propelling the game forward. Like, you're either doing maintenance on the game or rearranging the map or propelling the game forward. If you're missing any of those, then you're missing something important. So it involves like endless repositioning. Like, I'm trying to rearrange the map. I'm trying to squeeze people or move them around or distract them, and of course trying to get kills. But like, sometimes you have to force the kills But in most games, you're spending most of the time not forcing the kill. You're adjusting whether they're little nudges or like large adjustments, but you're changing the state of the game to enable those advances, those like objective pushes or kills or whatever. And then the other key that I'm thinking of is you have to, and it actually relates to the ledge thing, you have to be able to switch between offense and defense all the time, like often as if you are flipping a switch. So you go from like full offense and then all of a sudden full defense. So you can't be attached to whatever you're doing. You can't see a kill and decide you're going to get it. You also can't see the snail moving and realize or decide that you're staying there. Like, just you have to be able to just hit that switch all the time. And in the broad terms, it's offense versus defense, and then you can break that down into more specific, detail.
Yeah, all the different subcategories of each of those.
Yeah, because you might go into a situation like you see all these juicy warriors and a queen, and it looks like you're going to shoot some fish in the barrel, and then you realize the opportunities aren't actually as good as you thought. So it's time to change your mind, because the opportunities you thought were there are no longer there, and you should probably be doing something else. So you have to just switch on a dime. Just no attachment.
Would you say it's fair to say that, like, by being more disciplined like that and exercising restraint and making sure you know when to take the kill and when not to take the kill, you end up with more highlight reel events than you would if you just were constantly always going for that, like, hero mode type of thing?
Well, I think that's tough to say, because I think if I took more and more opportunities, I would probably produce more of those clips. But, I mean, that's not important to me, because by playing smarter in the way I'm describing, then when I do get those highlight reel clips, it's usually in a much more important part of the game. Or when I got it, I wasn't risking my team's life when I went for it.
You also
a lot of the highlights you see are exciting because, like, the whole team's life is on the line in that moment, or you made somebody look dumb or whatever. But, like,
you also minimize your blooper reel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's endless blooper reels on a lot of the highlight reel players. It's just
absolutely.
The size comparison isn't even like on the same scale. Like, the people who go for the highlight reels, you can make a blooper reel bigger than any other players. Like, I mean, I get it. The game's fun, right? It just depends on what you're interested in.
Your highlights are
I'm interested in getting
bloopers.
the highlights. I don't know. I'm not a highlight player. I'll just get them when they matter.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I've always said this. I think the most perfect game is the most uneventful one.
Yeah. I think it's even more than like a highlights to bloopers ratio. It's like, how many of your highlight reels are leading to wins? Like, who gives a shit if you're getting highlights if your team is always losing? If you're doing it at the expense of your team, like, if you're going, you're getting these highlights, after you've let your entire team get wiped and your queen get killed, like, who cares? Like, you're a bad teammate at that point.
One thing I want to talk about is, I think a lot of KQ exists in different realms of, like, both tier of play, but also stylistically how the game gets approached. And when we talk about, like, Bumble Bash and the Shy 5 in the summer are, like, two tournaments where the high end of play is, like, nearly unrecognizable compared to most every other tournament that happens every year. And so one of the weird things is, and really what it comes down to is sheer, like, overall squad strength, but also, like, communication and coordination being really high. But also, it's the presence of a lot of really great queens for which these, like, highlight reel Speed Warrior moments don't work. You know? It's like once like at a given tournament, like a casual, you know, like you have like some random tournament in like Milwaukee or something, like you'll maybe get 2 of the greatest queens to show up. And so for most every other match that you'll ever play, you have a queen of moderate, some scale of like not good to somewhat good play, you know? And so like these moments work all the time. And so they actually lead to greater success in a lot of microcosms. And that's why, because so many people get great success by just like sticking queens until they lose. And that drop off happens quick. Even when you look at nationals, that drop off happens quick. Like, it's really what we're talking about is like what separates like the top few teams or the top handful of teams at any given top tournament. What separates these teams tends to be all these things that we're discussing. And it's kind of one of those weird things where it's like, but like, how do you get a team that is like not making it out of wild card into the bracket? Or how do you get a team that's like getting the tie for like 17th to get the tie for 9th? You know, how do you get these teams to move up a couple of rungs? Like, what are the skills that those teams are missing? And I think these are all like super applicable, but it's just so weird how many like those players are oftentimes super. You know what? Actually, Dan, I'm going to go back to a really weird moment we had a long time ago. It was an early KQ20. I don't remember which one, but I remember getting really frustrated in one set because we were playing against a team that the queen on that team was relatively weaker, not compared to me, but just like in general, and their complement was much stronger, and we were like even. We went to like 1-1 or something, and I remember getting frustrated. And I just said, you know what? This is ridiculous. I was like, we can dance circles around this person if we put the pressure on. I was like, let's do some Friday night bullshit. And what happened is I dove under them on day map and killed 2 of their drones and stopped their formation at far, and we just dominated the next day map. And it was literally just, we were just like, stop overestimating our opponents, and we blew them out of the water. And that's why, like, if you do that all the time, you'll get dividends. You know, if the vision of what you have of the game is most people play at that level, it's kind of like the best. A good example of it is Walshy is the opposite, right? Like, rather than me having to like teach myself to go do that again to people of like lesser skill calibers, Walshy just started doing like dive unders on day and night to everybody, and it worked out until he meets a queen that it doesn't. And then he loses a game. Like when we played together at camp and I just killed him at opener. And then that day map was lost. You know? Until you meet a queen that won't let you do it.
Right.
But it wins you tournaments until then. Right? It wins you games and it wins you tournaments until then. And so we're talking about this like skill threshold that most people are, I think, frankly unaware of like how different KQ is at the highest level. It's a completely different feeling.
Yeah, like most of what I'm talking about, or pretty much all of it, it's applying to tournament success. So like, you know, like I said, the game's fun. That's why we all play it. And there's many reasons you could. And I'm not saying people shouldn't play the game how they want. Like, they should play it how it's fun or whatever. I'm specifically talking about like success in tournaments.
Yeah.
And I'm also not saying to never do anything risky ever. Like,
yeah.
So what you're saying is kind of a strategic choice. You're like choosing when to do things that are normally considered risky, but in the context, it might be the proper counter for actual tournament success.
I think it's also accounting for the fact that a lot of the people that we're talking about that are getting the dividends from doing the risky things don't have this like awareness to recognize it as like a choice. Like it is that they are rewarded.
Yes, absolutely.
They are continually year after year rewarded locally or regionally, or at the like handful of tournaments that they travel to for playing in this way. But
that's a good point.
But playing that aggressive style, while it will win you a ton of matches against queens of lower calibers, will never, ever, ever win you nationals. That you will be.
Yeah, so I don't know how. Oh,
No, that's it. That's that.
sorry, I didn't mean to
No, go ahead.
cut you off.
I talked for like 5 minutes straight.
I was gonna I was gonna say that toward the end of the tournament, probably like, well, especially finals, but as you play, higher skilled teams and the stakes get higher, the actual feeling of the game to me is completely different in finals, and I think it's because like every player on the map is probably there. Well, they should be there because they're very good thinkers about the game. They're not just like doing things. And I feel like by finals, everybody's like got their mental like machine like operating at full capacity, and so you see a lot less movement. There's a lot of moments where players kind of like stop, or it's just repositioning over and over and over, but not as much like clashing. So there's big moments, but at least for me, I'm feeling different in the game because I'm just like allocating so much more to thinking.
Yeah.
It's kind of like to prevent making mistakes, but it's also just analyzing like what can I actually do. It's not just survival; it's also accomplishing things. And really, you just need the two balanced out. And if you get to and in the higher stakes matches, the balance requires more of that analysis.
Mhm.
So I can think of some players who are incredibly good at this game, but every time they get that far in the tournament or close to it, they don't make the change. That the things that got them to that point are no longer working because they're only doing that. They haven't like changed the balance. They haven't shifted back. Yeah. You need to blend the two. I'm not advocating for like boring, disciplined play. It's just that if you want to have fun in those stages, like those types of games, you need to put in a certain kind of work to enable you to have those moments that are rewarding.
Well, like one of the things I think we can look back on is there is, and I'm just going to coin the phrase around it now, which is the concept of the third place stomp, which is how many tournaments can you look at where whatever team got third place got freaking rocked by one of the teams that got first or second. Like, absolutely demolished.
Yeah,
sometimes by
that happens
both.
A lot.
Sometimes by
That's
both.
so interesting.
Sometimes it's like they got knocked into losers finals, and they were in winners finals because the team that inevitably gets first beat the team that inevitably gets second. They came from the other side of the bracket, so they get to winners finals. They get 3-0'd or 3-1 by the team that inevitably gets first. They get knocked to losers finals, and they get 3-0'd or 3-1 by the team that inevitably gets second.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time, and not just in big tournaments. This like third place stomp is super common, and it's because like that team is almost always comprised of extremely talented and skilled players that lack coordination and discipline, oftentimes because they're from like different scenes, where like they just like didn't have the luxury of like getting together and thinking all the time, or like they have different like approaches or styles to the game that were hard to mesh strategically, or most of the time, frankly, because I think we talk about those things a lot, most of the time it's because they didn't put in the work. Most of the time it's because that team did not hop on a video call with their teammates from around the country and go, hey, let's set forward all of our strategy. Hey, I started up a team document, let's type it all up. Most of the time it's they didn't put in the work. And that team gets bodied by the first and second place teams, but they like ran their way to third place.
Mm.
And it's like, what is this barrier they're facing, you know?
That's an interesting concept, and I actually haven't thought about it. I feel like there could be so many factors, but I do agree. It seems like in multiple instances, after like winners finals or losers finals, whichever one I'm in, sometimes it's like, oh, that set's over?
Yeah. I mean,
like all the two sets before it were so much harder.
Yeah.
But I don't know why, though.
It's happened to you and me.
I know you're offering some ideas, but it's interesting.
And I can look back to some of them, and most of the time it was like I just remember running a really like structured control play and it just working really well. And I think what it is, I think a lot of it comes to column discipline. that team that has those breakout moments is because they did a lot of like funky things and just got away with it. Like people didn't hold columns and they were like, "Oh, I'm out, and now I'm sticking you, and both of you are dead." But it's like if you hadn't let them out of the column, that never would have happened. Like I definitely remember some vivid ones where I was just like, "That was an easy set," and it's really weird that it was an easy set.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like that. It's weird that it was easy. It's not that was easy because they're not good. There's a huge distinction.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
these are good players. It's just surprising that it's like they didn't make the shift that I normally make at that stage in a tournament.
Yeah, it's really weird because it absolutely is people I respect and teams that placed very well at very difficult tournaments. And it's like, how is that not hard?
All right.
I thought we were in for a grueling
there's something
match.
there.
There's a glue element. There's a like you can have really good pieces, but if they don't fit together well, then but saying it that way implies that like they would never. Like I don't think that's. It sounds to me like you're not saying that's the case. It's like they didn't put in that extra like effort to fit together well, to like make sure they were all on the same page with a cohesive game plan.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure if it's that they didn't do it in advance or it's just that they didn't do it at that time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I know Woody's idea was more in advance, and that's a valid idea as well. I'm just saying it could. To me, I was kind of speaking to the moment, and you're kind of speaking to the preparation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we both agree that it's both. I think the weird thing is, I think the big thing is that these like extremely talented teams that end up finishing first or second in these tournaments, they'll run you through like 4 layers of difficulty. You know, it's like you'll get out of the one thing, and usually that means like against a lot of teams, like, oh, if I do this, I'm out, and then it's like, oh, I did that, I'm still in it. You know, I'm still in the pincer. Oh, they held it. I'll do this thing. Oh, that trick didn't work. You know, and it's like that, like over and over again. It's like, oh man, none of my stuff worked against you. The stuff that got me really far stopped working. I mean, the day dive under is a perfect example of it. You know, it's like, man, I did this to so many people, and it worked really well, and I got all the way here, and then I died, and then I lost. You know, and it's just like so many things like that in the game, just amplified 1,000 times. Because I remember, like, a lot of the ones that I remember, it was just like, Dan, it was frankly just like you and me running columns on the queen. And maybe it was
it's just, go ahead.
That they, like, hadn't faced anyone that put that much pressure on a queen yet. And so because they hadn't faced pressure like that, their warriors weren't supporting the queen, which meant that they were, like, instead outplaying inferior warriors elsewhere. And then all of a sudden, like, the team that they're playing is recovering a lot because they got hype kills on warriors. Like, good quality kills on warriors. But it's like, if you're in the process, your queen is dying.
It's kind of hard to, like, isolate, let's just call it isolating the variables in this discussion, because I feel like this sort of third place event that we're discussing has occurred in small tournaments and in big tournaments. And these are big tournaments with multiple teams that are capable of doing all the things we talked about doing. But for some reason, maybe it's just a small sample size, and it's something that it's an illusion, that it's not really a trend. But in my memory, it's kind of a weird like pattern or a recurring theme, let's call it, that has occurred more than I would have expected. And I have no idea why. Well, we have some ideas, but nowhere near concluding anything for me.
Yeah, because a lot of it I feel like in locals is queen drop off, or like first warrior drop off, or both. It's like you look at a local tournament and you go, oh, those 2 queens are way better than everyone else. And then there's that 3rd queen, or there's that 4th queen. And you're like, yeah, at a certain point, like, the other teams can't hang. Or you run out of great speed warriors, you know? I mean, in Chicago, it takes you like 16 seats to that point, but...
Yeah,
I don't know.
Oh, I'll be right back.
Can I? Okay.
Yeah, no, continue without me.
Can I bring up I kind of want your take on it. Can you hear the premise and then go? It's a conversation that the three of us had at 30, plus Wilk and Rish. And it was we stepped up. Well, okay, we can repeat it when he gets back. But
Okay.
But we stepped outside, and the conversation was pretty much exactly what we talked about earlier, which is just like, look, you know, we were in like the early stages of bracket, I think, and we were like, look, you know, what do we do here? Do we continue on with the game plan that we had talked about and practiced, that was like, you know, meant for like the finals, like the high level strat? Do we run that methodically, like robotically through bracket, or do we do something different? Or I don't want to say mix it up, because that sounds like we were going rogue or something like that, but it was more like, do we do something different for the earlier stages of bracket, and then, you know, switch back to the original plan for later bracket? Do you remember this conversation?
I vaguely do, but maybe not enough to speak to it. Now we have to repeat it for Woody, because he's back and might have something better to say.
Hey, Woody. So the conversation, the subject was a conversation that we had with our 30 team outside of Logan Arcade. Specifically, like at the start of bracket, I'm pretty sure, where you basically posed the question is like, do we keep with our game plan all the way through bracket, or do we do something different for these like lower teams, lower bracket teams, and then switch back to the game plan for the like higher ends of bracket? Do you remember this conversation?
Vaguely, I feel like Wilk was there. Was the whole team there?
Wilk, the whole team was there. It was out by the bus stop.
I think it was connected to berries.
Yes.
So
I believe that's
think
right.
The conversation was, hey, we think we can win this tournament against every single team running a 3-1 snail.
Yeah.
But do we want to run our 2-2 berry strat, which we've practiced, and get experience with it today, and also confuse our opponents on whether or not we're going to run, which one we're going to run, and then have it prepared?
Right.
And we inevitably decided to run it sometimes, which we did against the Nucks. Oh no, it was the Hunks. The Hunks. There's like
yeah.
It's like Garzone's teams always are like some version of. But it was the Hunks. When we played against them, we ran berries on a game that, like, we had beaten them on a snail game before. We beat them on a solid night map snail victory, and then when we came to the dust, we decided to run berries to, like, feel it out. And it was super smart, because it paid massive dividends when we played Sapnu Paws, and we lost dust to their berries because we had a leaky ledge issue while Kyle camped in the snail tunnel. And so when we had the next dust map, we just decided to run berries because we were like, oh, we can just beat them straight up on berries. I was like, I think our berry game beats their berry game. And then we had a very, very strong dust map against them. All right, see you later, Andrew.
See you, Andrew.
See ya.
Later. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about that a lot. I remember saying that my vote was in the camp of, look, you know, we have this strategy. Let's, you know, my answer came down to some very like sports psychology stuff, which was just like, look, we play what we think is the ideal strategy, like the strategy that we think we would ride or die by. Like, we had to pick one. We play that all the way through. And I I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that as a general strategy because I kind of still support it, and I also see the value in what you're saying. Is like
so the thing
not
is that
having. Yeah.
I disagreed with everyone in that I did not think the 2/2 berry strategy that we had was inferior to our 3/1 snail.
Right.
In that, I think against a lot of teams, berries are stronger than snail because of noticeable ledge weaknesses or because the queen fails to support ledge adequately.
Yeah.
Because of those realities, I think both strategies are equally important, and I think any top team going into a tournament should have both of their strategies padded out and ready to run.
Okay.
Because if you just go it shakes everything up a lot, but also diagnosing weak ledges is super useful. Or diagnosing teams that push snail poorly, that aren't actually good at moving it, where you can easily deny their snail. Like those are all great teams to run berries against.
Yeah.
And so like the reason why I wanted to do it is
because were you talking about?
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, my internet was kind of freezing, so I didn't realize you're talking. But the Hunks set at KQ30, are you talking about the Dusk map where we both ran berries against each other?
Yeah. Because we chose to run berries, not from any card read or anything there.
I'll have a link in a second.
Awesome, thank you.
I don't know if you want to watch it, but I feel like I have it here. I found it by some miracle. So.
Yeah, it's impressive because it's on the KQ Shy line,
resume
right?
talking. Yeah. Okay, I'll throw this in.
But yeah, so like I was pro because I was like, well, frankly, one of the big things is, I'm trying to think about the ladder into that bracket. What was? I think I remember us kind of thinking that Sam's team might be kind of bad at ledge.
Yeah.
But it was because it was Wyatt and Austin.
Yeah.
And I think we decided that they would have had Wyatt ledge, who was a great ledge, but like not better than we thought we could clear, you know? Like I would rather have Rishi on ledge than Wyatt is a good way of phrasing it, you know? Like he's like A tier, not S, you know, however you want to put it. So I was like, when you're talking at the highest echelon of play, like whether or not someone's slightly weaker as like a point of advantage, we were like, yeah, no, I think we could beat up Wyatt, or he would move away too off, like he would play too safely, like get away from the damage, and Sam would be late to come support. I think that was something that we had diagnosed, and so we were like, no, like I think we want berries as a legitimate strategy to pull out if for some reason our 3/1 isn't beating their 3/1. But we think our 3/1 will beat their 3/1. But if that isn't happening, let's actually have a real strategy that we think is good. Not like, oh, let's do it because we're losing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I get
that. It with in regards to Wyatt, he is one of the best ledges in a lot of contexts, but I think there's a matchup thing here where certain aggressive but like controlled aggressive players, I think, at least in a way that I think of myself, is a good counter to Wyatt's ledge style. Because I've seen him just do ridiculous things against all kinds of players. So I'm just adding that he is super good at ledge, but I feel like there's a matchup thing with our team that was going to come at him with a lot of really aggressive, kind of weird but not random stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like tricks, misdirections and just like going at him rather than dancing with him, because he's kind of like, he floats around a lot. He kind of like, it's like the angler fish type where he brings you toward him, but he actually wiggled around a different way and now you're dead. but if you play a certain style against that, that's pretty technically controlled, but still aggro. I feel that works well against him. I've kind of avoided talking about specific people in these, but it's like certain archetypes of players. He's got a lot of unique things about him, but the qualities I described, I would attribute it to some people.
Yeah.
Because
it was a combination.
I'm making
right?
a generalization because it's related to matchups. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it wasn't just like, it was like, we think we can clear him effectively, and we also think that he'll leave ledge preemptively to preserve his life, because that's a very New Yorkian philosophy. And because New York teams tend to be very heavy on snail push, Sam would be late to arrive to defend ledge, or wouldn't be, which would make them really prone to queen clears, and that we could get in the berries quickly. Like, that was the philosophy.
Right, yeah, thanks for describing that, because it's not just a case of, like, the one person. It's what you're talking about. It's like the system. How this one person is playing in that system, and we've studied it. So we recognize a disadvantage to them based on our analysis of the system and the players in those roles.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. If
he was playing on a team with like different players that maybe did things differently than what you just described, Woody, then his success might be higher. Maybe we would have feared clearing him more in a different context.
Well, Wyatt's really
but we
scary
thought a lot about that team.
with a queen that aggressively defends Hive.
Yeah.
Because he leaves early, and that means that if there's a queen that comes back and like counter clears or whatever, then he's really effective when he's in there, and then when he's not, there's somebody to support him.
Yeah, because the most punishing thing for a queen going to clear Hive is
a counter.
If the enemy queen pursues after her, and that warrior gets out and reconfigures in a position to pincer that queen. Yeah. Which is what Wyatt's good at.
Okay.
Like, you're arriving to Hive, you rise up. Like, the queen's arriving Hive to clear. Before they get there, the ledge guard rises out of the Hive and maintains a column on the queen. That warrior's queen follows after, and now you're pincering, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he would just ledge from, like, outside. We lost Dan.
Oh, no. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's interesting. What Dan was talking about before, there is kind of a melee analog, which is in terms of... Oh, hey. He's back.
Yeah, I missed all that. I don't know. I froze up and had to come back in, so I missed that.
Yeah, no. I don't remember what Woody... Oh, was Woody muted? Well, what I was saying was that there's sort of a melee analog to what you were describing in terms of player style, which is like you were talking about controlled aggression, and I think that there's certain different levels of technical prowess for each of them, but like there are three. It's kind of seen as like three play styles, which is like that like white hot fire aggressive style. The like I'm going to do the best thing at each time, like purely cold calculating like logical best solution. And then there's the like cool kind of reactive, like I'm gonna I'm just gonna see what you're doing. I'm gonna play back, and then I'm gonna respond to it. And it sounds like what you're saying is that that Wyatt kind of is a little bit more of the cool, responsive type, but that with the right style of like aggression, you can kind of just beat him to the punch in a way. Would you say that's what you're saying?
It might be. The archetype you're talking about, is that the one that I might have even described back to you from the Smash Brothers documentary?
Yes,
where A beats B, B beats C, and C beats A. Yeah, 100%. Totally. That's one of my favorite things I ever discovered, and that was like years ago, but it blew my mind at the time. I still think of it all the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he might fit into that one actually, because Wyatt's play is consistently, he doesn't ever want to do anything dumb, you know. But he's not the robot. He's not the technical machine. So I think what you said is probably right. If we're putting people into categories anyway.
Right, exactly. Because the thing is, nobody fits into one box exactly, but
right.
But I think there's definitely like well, and because I feel like the white hot aggression gets a bad rap because it's like, oh, you're not even playing smart, but I don't think that's right at all. I think it's like you're a risk taker. I once kind of described Shipwash a little bit as like that style. It's like Shipwash will just do like whatever. Like he'll just pull out all of these things and like go for these aggressive plays, and then they kind of like we were talking. They work against like so many teams, but that's the thing, they work because he's also very technically adept. So
yeah, Shipwash is a fighter to the core. He's still one of the most interesting players. Like, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I still I see him do things that I've literally never seen any other player do, and I don't think that means they're good, but they still work. Like they worked on me every time he tried them against me. I was just like, I know this is dumb, but it's still working.
Yeah, one thing I want to say about Kyle is he's one of the only players I've seen that does set plays, where it's like he's looking for like a specific configuration and like sets it up to execute it. So like a lot of this has to do with like gate feints, where like left gate on day map, he'll like dive in and tag the gate, and then he'll like bounce down to that ledge that's a little lower than the gate. And he'll do that very quickly. And as the enemy queen like is chasing after and tagging the gate after, because we always hard pursue gates after, he's rising back up to catch you at the gate. And it's like he put the ball down, right? He tagged the gate and he waited for you to grab it. And then is like pouncing back at you. And that's like a set play, is I think the best way to refer to that. It's like, and he does it around a lot of gates. That's like one of the most common scenarios that I've seen him do it. But he's always looking for these like specific feints of like, oh, if I do this, that almost always makes you do this. And so I'll actually go for that space you'll be in because I made you go there.
Right. Yeah. So, in that same kind of way that Wyatt is not all one style, it's like Shipwash has these like kind of cold calculating moments, but in general is like just plays all these like wild risky type play style in general, or at least that's what's prominent.
I mean, the set play is innately also that.
Yeah, that's true. But it is that in a more refined way than somebody who would maybe be described as like pure aggro, like what's it called? Mantises. I
think it's the exact same thing as the Mantis. It's the exact same thing as the Mantis. It's in the exact same school of play. It is presenting an opportunity for an opponent and then capitalizing on it. The Mantis leverages the vulnerability of a roll in a way that like a set play around a gate doesn't. But I would consider like it's a ploy to make your opponent go low while you quickly rise above them. At its core. Yeah, okay. That's the core description. Like if someone was like, "Oh, can you explain why a set play works?" I would say, "Oh yeah, it's a ploy to make your opponent go low so that you can quickly rise above them." And someone was like, "What makes the Mantis gotta be like?" "Oh, it's a ploy to make your opponent go low so you can quickly rise above them."
Okay, I see that.
Whereas like you can contrast that with like a lot of other specific types of things that people do that you would like describe in other ways.
Yeah, I think that it's in the same way that like writing off any one person as being a specific type of player is as big a mistake as saying all fortresses are bad, or on the other end, always fortresses are inherently good. But I do think it's interesting and fun to a degree too to kind of analyze players in that way. Is like, what's their mindset? Like, are they going for, like, are they thinking full tilt aggression? Are they thinking, let's see, what this player does, or are they thinking like, I'm gonna hit this tech, like I'm gonna focus on playing optimally in any one moment.
Yeah. Well, it's also like one of the things about like describing the flavors of players is that you're describing the 5% differences between players rather than recognizing the 95% of characteristics they all share.
That's fair. Do you think it's as
I don't
big
know
as
if it's quite skewed on those numbers, but
yeah. We could probably disagree about the exact percentages for
but we don't have to.
the end of time.
But like everybody at the highest level is going to, hit certain techs like consistently, and everybody is going to
Big disagree.
Coordinate in.
Big disagree on that one.
Okay. Okay, all right, but you get the point is that like along the lines of what you were saying is that like there are certain characteristics that all players at a high level are going to be doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but a lot of those are like people like suturing up the fact that their tech isn't at the highest level. I mean, at its core, the Fortress was developed by a lot of players, like when it was actually employed in New York, which is, to my knowledge, the first time that it was actually like deployed as a concept, was deployed by a bunch of players that went, we're worse than our opponent. How do we beat them? We make them go under us by operating in a position of strength.
Yeah, I think that maybe, this was characterized all the time back before. Sorry, I lost what I was saying. But what I was trying to say, it's like brains over brawn. We'd always characterize New York versus Chicago back in the day. It was always, it's an old topic, but it was like New
absolutely.
York solved the puzzle and was playing with discipline and teamwork, and named the team Teamwork that mastered it at the time. And Chicago was like barroom brawlers that could loosely organize themselves.
Yeah.
But they had all kinds of weird tricks that were not as readable, or tech that was higher, And it's a certain kind of tech, though, because there's also tech that is like repeatably, like being really consistent at something that might not be super difficult by itself, but repeating it over and over and over is a certain kind of tech. And then in the moment, like crazy tech is like also, you know what I mean? There's like simple functions that you can master, refine them, and then there's more complex ones that you like. Well, I meant refine for repetition, for consistency, and then there's ones of like executing this crazy thing in the moment.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was
physically demanding in the moment versus like it's acute versus spread out.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time when we made fun of columns openly.
Did we?
I once got mocked at the cabinet in Logan for saying I have left column.
That is way before my time.
I think it was when I moved back in 2017. It was still 2017, and I said,
"Back in
I've got left column on Queen," and someone went, "Columns? What is this, New York?"
Oh well, that could have just been a joke. I don't know. Did I say it? I don't know.
It was not you. No. I don't remember who it was, but it was not you. No, but it was very much joking, like, what are you talking about? I mean, they were like poking fun, but they were also like, I don't know what you expect me to do with that. Like, it was very genuine. Oh, right. Like, it was making fun of their like serious opinion.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a get that other culture out of here kind of thing.
Right.
Like, this is Chicago.
And I was like, weird. Wait, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah. That
yeah.
blows my mind. It's like, not having seen the spectrum, not having seen the progression of Chicago and to a greater extent Killer Queen over time. Like the idea of mocking columns is so ridiculous to me. It's like we're all living in the era where it's like at the very like if you're not actively using like high level threats, at least you're aware A, that they exist, and B, that they're good for the most part. Like
well, but it's also like it was I feel like an uphill battle to make. And still, people are still really bad at it in Chicago of capping ledges consistently.
Yeah. I've talked to you about this. Yes,
default state in New York is to slow your opponents down as they try to move through space. And Chicago players will fuck off to the top of the map for fun. They will just not block chokeholds all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's also because it's not our idea of fun, you go to the arcade and people don't do it when you're just kind of messing around. But if you go out to a fun night in New York, they do it,
right?
Because the thing is it's
in optimal play.
Well, the thing is it's innate to their play,
Yeah.
Kind of the way that all of us run Lockout now,
right?
And that's been true for a while. But it's the moment it starts to get to that state, everyone's like, yeah, gate control lockout. And it's just yes, we are doing this 100% of the time. Always. Yeah. Capping stuff to slow down enemy movement is innate that way to them. They're
second nature.
It's kind of what do you, how would I play the game without that? Would I, you just want me to not play? It's it's like asking a KQB player to not do all the high tier berry throws that they know.
Right.
It's why are you doing that high tier stuff? And they're because I know it, and of course I'm gonna do it because it's good and it's innate to how I play the game. You want me to play worse here? I don't understand. It's that ingrained into their style.
Yeah.
In a way that it's not in Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't. I don't know where things are now, but I think it took us a long time, but we did adopt. Oops, sorry, you dropped my phone fell off the thing. Don't freak out. Yeah, we adopted a lot of that and integrated it into our actual play. It took a long time.
Yeah.
To get enough people doing it consistently.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, I suggested that Mocking Columns would be a good team name.
It's a very good team name.
But also, I don't know, I'm getting a little bit tired. I think I might be cutting out of here.
I'm feeling it. It's what, almost 11? Yeah. I would we were live for over 2 hours. I'm good to call it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, this was very fun.
Ian, do you have a cool background going on, Ian? Your head's just floating now. Or is that
no? That's
the
his
wall
real
behind you?
I think it's
his real
super cool.
So I've got one of those
oh my god, sorry.
No sweat. I've got one of those what Ling calls a husband pillow, and that might be the name, but it matches the wall pretty closely. I think that might be part of the effects.
Yeah, I made a joke earlier that Ian looked like he was in heaven because it was the only color in the room except for him was a slight hint of blue from his pillow that was by the bottom, and it looked like the clouds above the sky.
That's what that was? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I said that. You physically looked like you were in heaven.
I thought I just looked happy.
And it's so well lit in your room, too.
Yeah.
So it's and it's really good overhead lighting. So it's everything just looks so bright and shiny and white. And I was is this heaven? Is this what heaven
Yes, it is. Low key. Don't tell anybody. I cut off my little square. And that's what it looks like.
I carved a piece of heaven and I chained it to the earth. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I'll let you guys go. I'm excited for.
So good to talk to you.
I'm gonna be streaming
same
5 more times this month because I'm trying to hit affiliate with Flight School. So I don't know. I don't know how much office hours I'll do, if I'll do like some other content or what. But it's basically sometime in the next 27 days I need to stream like another 5 times. Or is it 4? I think it's 4. You have to stream 7 times. And this will be the 3rd day, because it was Saturday and Sunday of the panels, and then today.
Cool.
So, lots of flight school. And then once you have it, you just have it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Oh, that's great.
Then you can go back to making no content and be an affiliate.
No, well, if that's the case, just give me my own solo hour. I'll just, every week I'll sit and talk to myself about how much I miss KQ.
Yeah, that's fine.
That could be good.
Yeah, that's
all right.
Yeah, do you want? I mean, we just have to make sure that at least 3 people watch.
Sure.
And so,
I can get 3 people to watch.
Can tune in.
I'll call in some favors.
Dan can literally we can do that in our apartment. Is the crazy thing I thought about. Because it's like flight school is a different Twitch than my personal Twitch. So like my personal Twitch, your Twitch, and Chuck's Twitch gets it done.
Yeah, there you go.
Ian's personal sad boy hour.
Yeah. Man,
That's
I miss KQ.
All right, well I'm gonna
save it for the other stream, Ian.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I don't want to